Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tira Avana Chari Jaradha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaradha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vana Chari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Ravijayacharya Story set to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parvajayacharya Story set to His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi Oh. So today is Monday, and we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Great day to read from Bhagavatam. Reading from Canto 6, Prescribed Duties for Mankind, Chapter 4, The Humps and Huya Prayers, and text number 8T. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yata Sharaja Bhutani Dakshodur Itir Vatsalaha Vitasha Manasa Jaiva Tanmama Vahita Shinu Yata Sasharja Utani Dakshodir Vatsalaha Ritasha Manasa Chaiva Tan Mama Vahita Shrinu Yatad Sarshraj Bhutani Daksho Duhitir Vatsalaha Rikasa Manasa Chaiva Tan Manavahitan Tan Manavahita Shrinu. Anyone like to repeat on Zoom?
Hare Krishna Yata Sasarja Bhutani Dakshotu Ritu Hitra Vatsalaha Bretasa Madasa Chaiva Tan Mama Vahita Shrenu.
Thanks for that. Anyone else? Alrighty. Synonyms. Yata as Sashraja, created. Bhutani, the living entities. Dakshaha, Daksha. Duhriti Vatsalaha, who is very affectionate to his daughters. Rita, Ritasa, by semen. Manasa, by the mind. Cha, also. Eva, indeed, tat, that, mama, from me, vahita, being attentive, Shrinu, please hear. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Shukdev Goswami continued, please hear from me with great attention how Prajapati Daksha, who was very affectionate to his daughters, created different types of living entities through his semen and through his mind. Report. The word Druhrti Vatsalaha indicates that all the Prajas were born from Daksha's daughters. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said that apparently Daksha had no sons. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshumitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. Shukadeva Goswami continued, please hear from me with great attention how Prajapati Daksha, who was very affectionate to his daughters, created different types of living entities through his semen and through his mind. Hey, Vishnu, everybody. Thanks for joining online via Zoom. Very nice to see everyone's little boxes. So this is actually very interesting, this part of the Bhagavatam. And I studied this entire part of the Bhagavatam a couple of years ago with the intention of studying Dhruva Maharaj's lineage. And somehow I just got confused in the Bhagavatam. And I ended up studying this entire pastime of Daksha only to get to the end of the lineage and be like, oh, wait, where's Dhruva Maharaj? Um, so I have this whole pastime studied and written down. So I thought I'd just share a little bit from it because it's a little complicated and it's kind of one of those pastimes that um, you can easily just get completely lost in, kind of like Puranjana's pastime. Or when you hear about different lineages of different families, it can be like, okay, this person's son had this, and then this person, and then this happened with this, and then it's easy to lose the whole picture. So I thought before we hear about it, we could just get an overview of this dynasty. So yeah, we have the progeny of Daksha's daughters, and um, before that, I did end up studying. I was trying to study the dynasty of Priyavatsa, but I studied the dynasty of Tanapat the son of Swayambhavan. And I was trying to get Dhruva lineage, but I got Daksha's lineage instead. So we can have a quick overview on Daksha's lineage, and then we'll go to his daughters. So as you've been hearing, we just heard he's the son of the Prachetas, who married Marishi, who was the daughter of the trees, and she was taken care of by the Moon King, who fed her with his finger, which produced this nectar, and she sucked on his finger, and that was her source of food. And the her father, so taken care of by the trees, and the Moon King fed her nectar with his finger. Her mother is an aspara named Pradochana, the father of the great, her father is and the father is the great sage Kandu. So originally the dynasty starts with King Anga, Sunita. King Anga was, and then they had, their demoniac son, King Venu, who was cursed later by a Brahmana. Um, and then there was, as we can remember from the earlier pastimes we read of Bhagavatam, his body was preserved in oil, and then the great sages, they cursed him to die, and his body was preserved in oil. And then the lower half of his body was, they like churned his body, and the lower half became this ferocious looking creature named Baku. And he was born from the lower portion of his body. And he was the father of the Nishada race, which is like a race of dwarf-like people with blackish bodies and hair that is like copper red. Oh, sorry, that's not the race. The race is um, like a darker skinned tribe that lives in the forest. But his body was dwarf-like. He had blackish hair, blackish body, reddish hair with copper-like eyes and sharp teeth. And this tribe, the Nishadas, is only allowed to live in the forest. And then the top portion of his body became two beautiful people, um, Prithu Maharaj and Queen Archie. And they were planetary expansions of Vishnu. So then from Archie and Prithu, they had different personalities. Dumariksha and Aharyaksha and Vichitkasva. Anyways, from these people there came three good sons, and we've got he married one woman named Nabasvati. They had two kids, and then from then they had five. Gaya, Sukala, Krishna, not Krishna, our Supreme Personality, but a different Krishna, Satya, and Jit Avrita. So, anyways, from one of their kids named Barishat, who was an expert mystic yogi, expert in furtive sacrifices, and became a qualified Prajapati, also known as Prachinabari. Married Satyadruti, they had 10 sons, and the Prachetas, who offered beautiful prayers to Lord Shiva and also became angry at the trees when they came out of the water, as we just heard. Then they got given Marishi, and from them they had Daksha. Daksha, the father of Sati, was cursed to take birth from the semen of a Kshatriya, the Prachetas, which is why he took birth like this, and from the womb of a woman. So that was his curse. Marisha, because he offended Lord Shiva. Lord Brahma then engaged him as a progenitor, sorry. And then Daksha in his next life had two batches of sons called the Prachetas. These are the sons that Narada Muni liberated. Batches of devotional service. Daksha became very angry, and then he cursed Narada Muni to never remain in one place. So that's our little history on Daksha, just to catch us up to where we currently are in Bhagavatam. And then we have the progeny of Daksha's daughters. So this is actually very interesting to study. Yeah, got my little chart here of this dynasty. So Prajapati Daksha, also known as Pracheshta, married a woman named Akshani, and they had 60 children. So 10 children from Damaraj. Sorry, they had 60 daughters. And then each of the 60 daughters got divided amongst six personalities. And from each personality, they had a different quantity of children. So one of their daughters, 10 of their daughters married Damaraj, two of them married Angira, two of them married Krishashva, two of them married Bhuta, 17 married Kashyapa, and 27 married the moon god. And then from this, we've got like the populations of our universe. And it's very interesting to learn about this because we hear there's 4,800,000 something thousand living entities in the world. And then of that, there's like 800 that are just in the human species. So yeah, anyways, when I was going over this again, it's interesting to just hear like these are the different types of living entities. So it just like divides them into a very interesting category. So starting with Damaraj, Yamaraj. So there's 10 daughters that were married to Yamaraj, and um, their names were Basu, Lamba, Kakuda, Yami, Vishva, Sadhya, Marutati, Basu, Maruta, and Sankalpa. Sankalpa was the last born daughter. She's the youngest. And then mm, they gave birth to different demigods who um, had different amounts of children. So, uh, yeah, just as example, one daughter, Limba, gave birth to Fidyota, the clouds. Um, and then Maruti later married someone named Jayanta, and they gave birth to Upendra. Yeah, so just anyways, they have one of them, this last daughter, has a very big dynasty of names, so I'll read out. And then we've got um, daughters number two who married Angira, and one of them named Svada gave birth to all the Pitas, all the birth of the heavenly um, Gitas, and then Sati gave birth to um, all the Adavanga rasa Vedas. I don't know what that is, but she gave birth to them. And then we've got Krishash, who married two of Prajapati Daksha's daughters, Archita and Dehishna. Um, and I can't tell if I wrote this down, as this is who they married or this is who they gave birth to. Anyways, there's 5 great personalities that came from that lineage. And then we've got the two that married Lord Shiva, Swarupa and Pruta. One of them, Suruta, gave birth to 10 million Rudras, and the other one gave birth to the associates and the ghosts and all the goblins came from her. And then we've got Kashyapa, who married Vinita, Kruta, Patnaki, and Yami. And yeah, one of them gave birth to all the different types of serpents. One gave birth to many birds, and one gave birth to like locusts, like the cricket, which is gross. Um, oh, sorry, this Kashyapa married 17 daughters. This is where it gets really interesting. So also we've got a deity and deity from that batch, which we've heard about from the mother of all the demigods, and the mother of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And then there's Kashta, the seventh daughter, who gave birth to all creatures who have hooves that are not split, specifically not so like horses, etc. People who have hooves that are whole, not like cows that are split. And then we've got Arishta, gave birth to all the Gandharvas. Survasha, who gave birth to all the bad spirits. Ela, who gave birth to creepers and trees. Kurodashva gave birth to the serpents, Namshva and mosquitoes. Soma, who gave birth to large birds of prey. Surabhi, who gave birth to um, animals who have hooves that are shaped like cloves. So like cows and buffaloes who have their hooves that are kind of broken in the middle. Sarma gave birth to ferocious animals. Simni gave birth to all aquatics. And then Tanu had 61 sons, who 18 of them are very important, listed in the 6th chapter of the book we'll read about later. Paloma had 16,000 sons. And then Kalaka had 10,000 sons, named the Kalakeyas. Um, these personalities got killed by Arjuna alone when he was in Indra's kingdom at one point in time. And Arjuna went to the abode of Indra, and he lived there for many years, and he was learning from Indra's direct personalities and associates and how the different qualities of the demigods. And right before he was leaving, he asked like his father, "Is there anything I can do for you? Any like dakshina I can give you?" And Indra said, "Okay, take my chariot and go and claim back this land that has been run over or taken over by the demons, the Kalakiyas." So he went there with Indra's chariot driver and single-handedly killed all of these sons of Kalaka. Um, and then the moon god had 27 daughters, or sorry, 27 wives of Prajapati Daksha. But the constitution named, he got cursed that all the wives named Kritika were all wives of the moon god, but Daksha had cursed him that he could not bear children. So somehow Daksha gave 27 of his daughters to the moon god, and then he cursed the moon god that he couldn't give any children. So he was childless in a sense. So yeah, that's just a little overview. Sorry, it's a little confusing on the like how basically Daksha populated the universe, what that looked like. And so I was thinking yesterday when Bharaka Prabhu was asking this question to Dina Palaka about how it is that the Prajetas all gave birth to one son from the womb of their wife Marichi. I don't know if that's right. What's her name? Marisha. And I was thinking, that's a great question. I'm also wondering how this woman, Kama, gave birth to large birds of prey or ferocious animals or aquatics. So yeah, lots of very interesting topics in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Um, and how the the knowledge in Bhagavatam is not something that one person can make up. I remember in Wellington, there's one great friend of mine, and her brother was visiting, and he was like, they were raised in the school of philosophy. Their parents are very prominent Mayavadis. Um, so they grew up learning Sanskrit and all that sort of stuff. And he was saying, like, of course, now they're both, when they became teenagers, they sort of faded away from the importance of that or lack of importance of that. And he was saying, yeah, I don't know about this, if this is, the real thing or this is the real deal, Bhagavatam. Um, so much stuff out there. This could just be another man-made creation. And then he read, a bit of Srimad Bhagavatam because he was intelligent. And then he came back, and when I was there later, he said, "You know what? I'm convinced this must be reality. This must be the only truth because the stuff in here is just so far out that there's no way that anybody could have possibly made it up. It's just too far out." So I was thinking, yeah, that's so true, Srimad Bhagavatam is very far out. And far out is a key term. That means like uh, inconceivable. So Srimad Bhagavatam, yeah, it's very far out. And all these different pastimes, um, they are just, yeah, it's a reminder that, wow, Krishna is the supreme personality because only he can yeah, only he has the ability to actually enact all these pastimes and has knowledge of them. And then also thinking like that these great personalities from different yugas, they could just hear this knowledge and then just once they'd be able to remember it. They wouldn't need to write anything down because they could just speak it and then they had it memorized. So yeah, these personalities must have been very intelligent, um, that they could understand all of this with just hearing it once. And then I was thinking how important it is to actually study this knowledge, because at least I've seen in both ways for myself that just by engaging in the process of devotional service, um, and following the sadhana bhakti process of hearing and chanting and reading Srimad Bhagavatam daily for many years, maybe not in large quantities, but reading a little bit at least every day or every other day. You definitely see that it has an effect on the consciousness, and that it actually changes the way you speak, changes the way that you're able to understand the world, because it's clearing our consciousness, like we hear in Lord Chaitanya's prayers. Chetu Darpanam Marjanam Bhavamaha Devagni Nivarpanam Shri Rakaya Vivachandrika Vitaranam Vidyavidu Jivanam. The heart is like a mirror, and it's been covered in dust for millions of lifetimes. And this um, nectar of Krishna consciousness is an Anandam Buddhi Vardhana. It's like an ocean of bliss. And it's nectar that we can continuously drink that will clear off the mirror of our mind and heart so that we can actually see ourselves clearly. So, yeah, I've experienced that personally. Before I came to Krishna consciousness, I was um, probably the human version of the kind of rats that you see in New York, um, like along the subway track, or maybe ones that you find in the gutters. So, yeah, I wasn't doing a whole lot of good stuff or being a very good person. And my intelligence was, and my speech was filtered through the speech of, yeah, the gang slang of 2015. um, yeah, I wasn't speaking in a very intellectually intelligent way. So, yeah, coming through Bhagavatam and then reading Bhagavatam for some amount of time. And I remember going back and visiting some of my friends back home, or even just trying to communicate with them. None of my friends kept in touch that much when I left, but those who did, and then communicating with them over text. And it's just a different way of speaking. You'd be like, I don't know, like, oh, that's so dope. You're doing this. Wow, that's so like sweet or something like that. And then the language of a Vaishnava is like, yeah, it's really nectar. Um, so yeah, even just small things like that, it just changes the way you speak and the way you communicate. I guess Bhagavatam is very powerful in that way. And if we follow the process, then yeah, we can see the change in our own way we speak, and way that we process information. It just makes us intelligent, clears our mind, and yeah, gives us a reason to live, basically. Um, and if we don't, like I'm experiencing now, my sadhana's definitely slackened a lot. And I can see it covers over our intelligence. We forget actually, uh, yeah, what our real position is. And I was just reminding myself yesterday when some problem comes up. um, For a long time, I used to just remember, okay, like, I mean, there's the problem, then there's the initial anger that comes with the problem and the frustration. And then once that is pacified, then the intelligence can come back and see things clearly. And if you've been reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and if you've been listening to classes and trying to maintain a high level of sadhana, then that intelligence comes back quite quickly. and then you'll be able to see that with clarity what the situation is. For myself, I was thinking, wow, I've had this problem for a while, and I haven't been able to see it clearly. And sometimes the intelligence comes, and sometimes it doesn't. But yesterday, I was trying to remind myself, okay, yes, the source of all problems, when we actually break it down, whenever there's a problem in any situation, the real source of it is actually us. So I was telling myself, yeah, the real source of the problem is actually you, because we decided to turn away from Krishna and the spiritual world and come down to the material world and enjoy. And since we made that choice, inherently, that every problem that follows from that choice is actually our problem. Every decision we make, everything we do right or wrong, inherently is on us because we made that choice to turn away from Krishna. So remembering that, then we can think, okay, I made the choice to turn away from Krishna. So actually, although this person has done me this wrong, or maybe this person keeps annoying me like this, or this keeps happening, actually, it's my fault because I am the one who turned away from Krishna. So in this way, then hopefully some natural humility will also follow. And then thinking, okay, yeah, I'm the one who's done wrong. How can I make the best of this situation? How can I make the situation in terms of bringing it back to Krishna? Um, there's a verse I wanted to read in connection. I was trying to find it. And yes, of course, the more that we become attracted to hearing about Krishna's pastimes, and the more attractive the pastimes become. And the more that we have the opportunity to hear from different people, the more we come into people. Devotees Association will actually just want to talk about Krishna or activities that are in relationship to Krishna, because it just becomes attractive. But if we go time without reading, without studying the scriptures, then those muscles become weak. Not that we lose it completely, but it becomes weak. And whatever we're becoming attracted to becomes stronger. And then we just gradually over time lose our attraction for these topics. And then of course, hearing from a spiritual master or very senior devotees, it actually pleases the heart. There's this nice verse from the third canto, 25:25. Sasat prasangham mama viri samvido bhavantir karna rasayanakata tajoshna asad apavargavarmani shraddhavati bhakti anukramishati. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personal of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed from his attraction, becomes fixed, and is freed from his attraction, becomes fixed. The real devotion and devotional service begin. Then, so yeah, this is just such a nice verse to think about. Like, first, from hearing from pure devotees, the discussions and the pastimes of the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not only is it very pleasing to the ears and the heart, but yeah, it's also very purifying. And then from that, we become attracted, hopefully, become attracted to this process of hearing such knowledge. And then once one cultivates the knowledge and becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and he is freed from his attraction to material objects, then service begins. So I'm like, what am I doing now? It's clearly not service. Mm. So yeah, this is nice, and it's really nice to hear these different verses. There's so many verses in Bhagavatam that just talk about the sweetness of hearing and chanting. It's another famous one from the 10th canto, also found in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Um, the verse that was sung by Maharaj Prataparuja in the garden when he was massaging Lord Chaitanya's feet. He was in the disguise of a common man. Kavakatamritam Tattvajivanam Kavadipiritam Kalasampalam Shravanamangalam Srimadatatam Purvikranati Puri The nectar of your words and the descriptions of your activities are like the life and soul of those suffering in the material world. These narrations, transmitted by learned sages, eradicate one's harmful reactions and bestow good fortune upon whoever hears them. These narrations are broadcasted all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. Certainly those who spread the message of Godhead are most beneficent. So yeah, I was just rereading these verses recently, trying to get some inspiration to once again become undauntingly attracted to Shravana Kirtan. Yeah, so much left in Bhagavatam. Let's see, I think that's all I have to speak on today. I'm sorry the class is a little all over the place. Does anybody have any comments, questions, corrections, additions?
Hi, Krishna. Good morning, Madhupanlela. Thank you so much for sharing your notes with us and the lineage of Daksha. And this particular pastime to me gets a little confusing, just where the Rajas are coming from, where the daughters are coming from. So it's just it was very nice to have it organized in such a way. So thank you very much for that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Leela Kashari, for that encouragement.
Hare Krishna. I have a question. I'm curious to know who married the daughters of Daksha and whose sons were they?
Who married the daughters of Daksha and whose sons were they? When I studied this pastime, so daughters of Daksha, he had 60, and they were married to 6 personalities. Damaraj, Angira, Kushashva, Bhuta, Kashyapa, and the moon god. So yeah, I guess I don't know, Damaraj, I have to restudy this if this is like Yamaraj. Angira, I imagine, is the great sage. Angira, Rishi. But then I guess these personalities might not have been around at the time. So maybe they were different personalities. I'd have to re-go through the pastime and study them again. Moon god, Kashyapa, Buddha. Because essentially, he's populating the universe, so these personalities must have been present before the population of the universe began. So yeah, that's, I mean, what I have in my notes, but I don't have whose sons they are. Yeah, but I can find out.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
In regards to your question yesterday about the how it's possible that one daughter could have given birth to one son from 10 different husbands, the Prajetas. I was thinking about it in regards to um, Draupadi in the Pandavas, how she was the one wife of 5 husbands. Of course, she gave birth to different children from each of those husbands. But I remember hearing that after she was married to one after the other, that after she was married to like Yudhishthira Maharaj, um, then each day by the power of I can't remember if it was sun god or someone else, but anyways, each day she regained her um, purity after each marriage with each personality. So, um, in a sense, maybe the same principle could have applied to these Prachetas, that after each um, consummation with them, she regained her purity, and then from all of that, she gave birth to one son. Or it's also spoken about in Mahabharata that all brothers are present in the eldest brother. So in this way, also, I was thinking maybe that could be an answer to that um, question, but I'm sure it's somewhere deep in the Puranas.
Interesting. Thank you. You have a question in the chat.
Yes. Okay, question from James. Do spiritual entities just choose to go back to the material world? I thought Krishna says once you enter the spiritual kingdom, you don't come back. Always was confused. Yeah, this is always a very interesting system because we are nitya, siddha, eternally conditioned, but then also we have the opportunity to go back to the spiritual world and we never come back down again to this material world. But then we also have the choice. Well, Krishna gives us that ability to make a decision. We have the ability to choose Krishna or not Krishna, or to choose. Yeah, we have that inherent choice in us whether we can choose Krishna consciousness or not Krishna consciousness. So the way that I've heard it explained, maybe someone can correct if this is incorrect, is that we do eternally reside in the spiritual world, and we're there enjoying with Krishna through Krishna's pleasure. And at some point in time, the living entity might just think to themselves, I wonder what it would be like if instead of everyone offering Krishna their sweets, they offer them to me instead, and I enjoyed. And just that small thought is what sends us down to the material world. And we just had this one thought come in our mind. I wonder what it'd be like if actually I was the one that everyone was worshiping. Then that desire to have that enjoyment is what sends us back down to the material world. Um, so yeah, although we are eternally situated and we never come down back again, we have the choice to stay there or to not stay there. I'm not sure if that fully answers the question. Um, I guess it's different from the heavenly planets where like we only are there for a certain amount of time and then we're definitely going to come back down to the material world. But in the spiritual world, we can be there forever unless we choose to come down back again. Maybe someone can correct that if it's wrong or add it. So a side note, um, we've got in this lineage of Daksha, we've got so maybe this helps with that question. Kashyapa, who married 17 of Daksha's daughters, and this is the lineage of the daughters that gave birth to all like the grasshoppers and hoofed creatures and many birds and serpents. So I also studied this pastime because it's also very interesting. Um, so he had two prominent wives. I'll just go through quickly because we've got some time. A deity and deity, which we hear about in the sixth canto. Oh, the seventh canto. Anyways, we hear about them with their famous sons that they um, had, and then he's got his other wives as well. So can just quickly go through them. So yeah, we've got deity and a deity. So deity, she had 49. She had 51 sons. She had 49 Maruts who didn't have any children, and then she had Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. As you know, Hiranyaksha died before he could produce any children. He was killed by Rahadev. And then we have Hiranyakashipu, who married Tayudo and gave birth to Prahlad Maharaj. And he also had some other sons, etc., etc. So there's that lineage. And then, which we'll hear about in another canto. And then, yeah, he had his other wives named, yeah, Samyagya, who married Vivasvan, the sun god, and then um, they all of her different, all of the different children married different personalities. And some of the yeah, lineages that are interesting. So from this marriage of the daughter with Vivasvan, they had 3 children, a son named Yamaraj, the river Yamuna, and Manu Shrankhadev. Fun fact, the river Yamuna and Yamaraj are twins. And Yamaraj, while wandering earth in the form of a mirror, gave birth to the Ashwini Kumaras. So yeah, in case you weren't already convinced that Bhagavatam is the most far out literature. And then one daughter named Prisha, she had no sons. But when Lord Shiva was angry at Daksha, Prisha laughed and he lost all of his teeth and lived by eating ground floor. Wow. So yeah, this was a daughter her son. Oh, okay. This is why I'm confused. Okay, so Kashyapa and Aditi, they were married, and then Aditi, who's the mother of all the demigods, gave birth to all the demigods: Vivashvan, Aryam, Vrishitwashta, Sattva, and Bhaga. There we go. Vata Vidhata, Varuna, Mrita, Satyar, Urmakarma, aka Vamanadev. Clarity. So Kashyapa had his 2 main wives, Deity and Aditi, and this is their lineage. And so yeah, these are the different personalities that she gave birth to as the mother of the demigods. Tvashta, who later in his dynasty is Vishvarupa, who acted as the spiritual master of the demigods, and that's the same with Lord Indra and Vritrasura. Yeah, so anyways, very interesting if this pastime of the demigods. Yeah, anyways, we'll stop there. I'm gonna bore everybody with my studies on the lineage of different personalities, but it's quite interesting to study if you come across it in Bhagavatam, some history of some lineage of some family. Um, just seeing where everybody fits into the puzzle piece of the Srimad Bhagavatam, because it's very easy to go through it and get completely lost, but you just take it like, okay, I'm just going to study the dynasty of like this personality, and then you just trace it all the way back up to like their original Prajapatis. And then it's like, oh, I didn't actually connect that like in this person's line. This is here. It's actually the studying the pastime of like personalities like Prahlad Maharaj. Dr. Verbergen.
Yeah, who was it that gave birth to the varieties of birds?
That was one of the daughters that was married to Kashyapa. I think her name's so there's 2. There's Nangi, who gave birth to many birds, and then there's Kama, who gave birth to large birds of prey. So yeah,
So now I'm wondering which came first, the birds or the egg?
that's a great question. Did they even take an egg form, or did they just come out as birds? Was she in the form of a bird when she gave birth to them? These
So
are
many
also my
questions. So many questions.
But the good thing is questions, and what is it, the verse from the first canto of Bhagavatam, the second chapter, that all of our questions, everywhere living entities are asking questions, but questions directed to the personality of Godhead and his pastimes are perfection of questions that can be asked. Mm. Okay. So yeah, I guess we can stop there. We've got a couple minutes before the altar's opening. In case anyone has any other questions they want to ask. Okay, thank you. Argandraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi.